always get anxious when you do the clap. It makes me nervous because I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it wrong.
This will be the second week in a row we have some pre-clap shenanigans to start the episode. I like it.
Welcome back to Bread and Butter, everybody, where we're serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement in episode 87. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Tito Santana. Tito, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, but people don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from the guests that we bumped from last week. So let's get to it.
Yeah, so this week, everybody, we have the one, the only, Egg. Eggs, how are you doing today?
Hi, hello. I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty great. Again, I know I said it pre-show, but thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Doc. I want to go out of order today, and I should have put this in the show notes. Let's start off with your life outside the ladder.
Oh, we want to do that now?
Yeah, because that way we can time the rest of the show depending on how long it goes.
Okay. Yeah, so listeners, as you know, I wasn't here last week. I was on vacation. My girlfriend and I, we went to the Redwoods in California. So we flew out to Oregon, drove down a little south to Crescent City. It was a great spot where we were at. We were 30 minutes from the state park of the Redwoods, and we were 40 minutes from the national park, and we were 10 minutes from the beach. So it was just a pretty good location to go out and do a bunch of stuff. We probably hiked a total of about 22 miles over 4 days, which was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of beautiful giant trees. Cortland, she cried at one point because the trees were just so beautiful. She really, really loves nature. And so just seeing those giant trees that are literally larger than life, like it's hard to explain if you've never seen them, like just the sheer scale of what the Redwoods are. And it was her first time there. I went there as a kid and I don't really remember anything. I remember one tourist trap along the way to the Redwoods, and that's it. But it was a wonderful experience. The second day, we went to a park, walked for probably about like 6 miles. And then we had dinner, played a game of Commander, and decided we wanted to walk around the town a little bit. And we came across this lookout of the beach, and it's on the coast, and it was like in the evening, and it was just a foggy like coast day. So we sat down on this bench for a long time, and we were just listening to the ocean and just watching some seals and some pelicans. And I no longer have a girlfriend. I have a fiance.
Oh my God. Let's go.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's really cool. And so that was like, not like that was the biggest highlight of the trip. Like, it's an amazing thing. I just really enjoy spending time with Cortland. And so being able to go do something she's always wanted to do and celebrating her birthday while doing it was a great time. And it was just, she said yes. So like, that's the best outcome I could have hoped for. But it was a great trip. Got some really cool seashells. It was wild. Our rental car got upgraded for free without us knowing. Because we were expecting to get like a little Nissan or like a Kia like sedan or something, and then they gave us a 2024 Mustang, and so we were driving in a 2020. Yeah,
wow.
It was crazy. There was nothing that was analog like in the car. It was all just based on like touchscreens, which is an interesting choice because if the car doesn't turn on, then you don't like all the way, then you can't control anything. It was fun. Cortland was scared to drive it at first, so I drove it the first day and a half, and then she drove it the rest of the trip, and she had a lot of fun in it. Muscle cars are cool. We played a little game seeing if we can get a higher average miles per gallon than the previous people who drove it, and we did. They averaged like 23 miles a gallon, and we got up to almost 30. So that was fun. The drive from Medford to Crescent City was crazy. So anyone who lives near like mountain passes or knows what a mountain pass is if you've driven through it, that's basically what it was. Cortland's never gone through a mountain pass before. And so it was just 2 lanes where one lane was up against the side of the mountain and the other lane was up against a big cliff. And yeah, it was fun and scary. She wasn't the one driving, it was me. But so she got to see like the beautiful part of the gorge. And she drove on the way back, so I got to see the beautiful part of the gorge instead of having to focusing on not killing us both. Because gorges are scary.
Better to see that part than the bottom.
Absolutely, absolutely.
True.
And I know I'm going on forever, but everyone who listens to the shows knows that this is my longest segment of the show, other than the interview. When we went to the beach and like did our 6 mile hike at the beach, Cortland found some fish bones, and so she wrapped them up and brought them back to our Airbnb with us, and then brought them home. And then she boiled them and soaked them in bleach. Cortland loves making earrings, so she found a spine that had like 6 vertebrae, and then she found like a tail. She threw the tail away because it didn't stop smelling for whatever reason. The vertebrae, the cartilage like dissolved away when it got boiled. She's gonna make the vertebrae into earrings. That's her plan with them. Yeah, she makes some crazy.
That sounds sick.
They're pretty fun. When that happens, I'll take a picture and like share it to Twitter or whatever so people can see it. But that helped with an engagement party for a friend. Lot of Commander this weekend, and by a lot I mean I played from noon to 6 on Saturday and then noon to 5 on Sunday. So my brain's kind of mushy because that's just a long time trying to play card games. But it was a great time. And that is where I will end my life outside of Hearthstone this week.
Okay. Three things. One, you also met a member of the community, right? Maybe not necessarily our community, but
yes.
Blizzard, right?
Oh my God. I can't believe I forgot that. Busy week, y'all. Busy week. Meeting internet friends in real life is one of my favorite things. But I met Tagwaggle from the Blizzlet Discord. Tagwaggle's work had him out in Salt Lake City area, and so I drove down and we had drinks and ate some pizza, and then that kind of also gets into my life inside of Hearthstone this week. So I'll just go ahead and start that if that's okay.
Well, no. Before we do that, I have 2 more things. I have 2 more things that we have to address. I'm disappointed you for 2 things. One, I'm kind of sad that you didn't have like when you were playing Commander out on your little vacation, you didn't have a custom card made that was Planeswalker Doc McButt, 0 mana or 0 whatever loyalty, marry me.
That's actually a really cute idea. That's cute.
And 2, I had a conversation with friend of the show, Just a Guy, Steven Giorgio, and I said, hey, Doc's not going to be here for the episode with Joss. He's like, oh, is this the weekend that he's proposing to his girlfriend? I said, news to me.
I don't know how he might have known from Storm Rage, but I never told him.
You got some gossips
out
there.
You've done one episode of one podcast with Steven, and 87 now with me. I see how it is. Anyway, go ahead, do your life in Hearthstone.
I plead the fifth on whether or not I tell Steven, I guess. But yeah, so I ended up playing some Battlegrounds duos with Tagwaggle during dinner, and it was a lot of fun. I don't play duos a lot because when it first came out, I only solo queued. I didn't find anyone to play with. But I forget, he got George and I got I got a Death Rattle hero. I forget which one, and there was one where I got Graybo too. But it was super fun. We had a really disgusting comp in the game because we played 2 games. The game where he was George, we just kind of steamrolled the lobby really hard because he just had Divine Shield Quillbore, and I was just his Blood Gem factory. I had the Death Rattle minion. When it dies, each player gets a Blood Gem, and I had it golden, and then I had Baron Rivendare out, and so I was just filling her hands with Blood Gems every turn, and his Blood Gems got crazy high, and so he had an unkillable board, and I had a good enough board to like either kill the first board or kill half of it, and then his board just couldn't die to a board and a half. So Battlegrounds is fun, duos is great, playing Hearthstone with friends in real life is even better. Egg.
All right, so oh no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, no, I felt bad. Like poor Eggs. We have Ron first 10 minutes. Like she doesn't really get to say anything. Eggs, what are you doing inside of Hearthstone?
Listen, I'm here to listen and chill. Gosh, this weekend I actually got to drive up to Albany. We used to live up in Schenectady for a few years post college. And worked up in Schenectady. So we have a group of friends up there that we haven't seen in a very long time. So we decided to go up for a friend's housewarming party, and the husband knew we were coming, but his wife did not. And we just walked in and surprised her, and it was very nice. I love a good surprise that goes off properly. And they have a 10-month-old, which I had not met yet. So that was exciting to meet their kid. She's very cute. And that is a 2-hour ride with a 5-year-old in the back. And for some reason, it went off pretty flawlessly, which I was surprised by. Generally, he's a complainer. But yeah, so that was good. What else? That was all of my Saturday. And then Sunday, I felt like garbage and didn't do anything. But outside of that, my weekends are my child, and then it's streaming during the week, so...
Well, that's fantastic. And I actually did. So I took my son and my grandson are only like 3 years apart. So we went to Great Wolf Lodge this week, which the last time we went, we didn't have the greatest experience. And I tried to remind my wife of this, but she wanted to go anyway. I guess she got a Groupon deal or something like that. And it was fine. I mean, it wasn't great. Like, I think you can make a day trip more of it than stay overnight and do all the things. Because you go in, you go on the water slides, you do the little magic thing. Because you get this thing where it's like... it's Magi Quest or something like that, and you have to go, and basically it is walking to station, and they send you back to the same stations over and over again. So it's a good way to get your steps in, good way to tire out the kids, but not super exciting. But it was, it was fun. The kids like it. They remember it, even if you're like, this is stupid. So did that this weekend. Came back today. Also, I think I mentioned that I got my kid. My kid got into Pokemon Go. I did not encourage it. My wife let him have it on the phone, but I used to play Pokemon Go before COVID, and all my friends kept on playing. They're all like level 50 or whatever it is. So I started playing again, and being in a hub like that, where you're at a hotel and there are Pokestops and gyms all over the place, is just like way to gather up resources. And I was able to get a Pokestop just outside my house. It's like I have to go to the end of my driveway to hit it. But there's like a park right next to me, and I was like, well, let's go ahead and submit one, and they approved it. So now, like, when I'm desperate for stuff, there's a thing right there.
Heck yeah!
I'm very happy about it, and it's
that's cool.
Simple,
I didn't know you could do that.
Once you're level 37, you can submit. It can't be a private property thing. It has to be like some kind of landmark. I don't know if you can say this is a pretty tree. I don't know, but. You have to have something and encourage people to go to it. And it only took a couple days. I was pretty happy. And now I can I walk my dogs daily. We have a circle. It's 0.7 miles. So now I can create what they have as routes. And so now I can do that every day and just have these different routes and continue leveling up there. So it is pretty simple. But we've already heard from Doc about his in Hearthstone. Eggs, what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone?
Oh, man. I have been trying to get to Legend. I know it's pretty late, but I haven't been spending a lot of time on the ladder because I spend my entire life playing other games and not Marvel Snap, which is my main game. I have been doing some of the solo adventures that I missed out on to try and get some cards. I don't have like a lot of them unlocked. I did like the prologue for some of them. And just a lot of solo battlegrounds, and actually kind of kicked butt this weekend. I think I got a lot of firsts, so that's cool.
And we will have in a couple weeks, I believe we'll have Pocky on to talk about Amulet. So don't worry, we're not forgetting about that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were done. Please continue.
No, you're good. You're good. That's it. I don't have anything special to say outside of that.
We'll find out in the rest of the podcast. So I spent the first 16 days of the month in top 1,000 legend-ish. And then 2 nights ago, it kind of came crashing down and I'm like 1,500. And I hit a bit of a cold streak, but I'm still punching way above my weight. I'm enjoying playing people that I recognize. It's like nice to see people that it's not just like, who is this? But it's like, hey, that's somebody I know. I mean, I've played No Hands Gamer a couple times. I've played Pizza several times. I've fought Jay Alexander. Like, I'm seeing people, and that's kind of what I've wanted to do as I've tried to get there. So it's awesome to see these people. And I don't know where I'll finish. but my goal is I'm just going to keep playing and get comfortable and feel comfortable playing at this. And it's going to take a few months. I'm talking to Ron Mexico. We might do a co-stream at some point soon. He's great, and I'm sure he'll help me out a lot with that. But I'm also going. I'm one win away from 4,000 wins as a paladin.
And for not being a paladin main, that's incredible.
I play a lot of Hearthstone.
That's a lot.
I know. I don't know how it happened.
Do they track time?
They track time in BGs, but they don't track time on standard.
I'm glad they don't.
So, like, you can't... Blizzard doesn't have any, like, time tracked of how much time you spent in-game. I guess you could be idle for a good amount, so you couldn't be accurate.
At least not that I'm aware of that we can see. They might have something internally, because I know for WoW you can do, like, /played and then see your playtime. But outside of BGs...
Yeah, never do that.
Really? That bad?
Never. I played WoW for 17 years, and I played a lot of WoW. Hitting /played is a scary
yeah.
I've played how much of my life into this? Yikes. And I'm glad. No, Hearthstone, no. If there's a dev listening, which I don't think there is, Deck Tech, if you are listening, if Celestalon has this as a new feature, no. Yeah, no, that's it for me. So, Doc, why don't we get to know our guest here a little bit?
So, Eggs, how did you get started in video games, and how did you find Hearthstone?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know if I can like track down like where video game interest started. I did a lot of like very minor gaming as a kid, like Super Nintendo stuff. Nothing I was really good at or like kept coming back for. I was very much an playing outside kid when I was of that age. And then I was more of a spend my life being a nerd on forums as a teenager and not really spending time playing video games. Like there was maybe some like Sims going on, but like nothing too crazy. When I got into college, I started to like kind of explore a lot of RPGs. Around that time, Elder Scrolls came out. I'm gonna completely Skyrim. Yes, that was like my sophomore junior year when that first came out, and I was like, maybe I'll give this a try. My parents had a PlayStation at home, and that was like pretty much my first attempt at like sitting down and playing a story-based game. Outside of like, Animal Crossing, stuff like that, very minor stuff. I did not finish it. I still have not. But I met my husband in college, and he is a gamer, like has been through and through since he could use a controller. So he introduced me to a lot of stuff. My first like full playthrough of a series was Fable.
Oh, heck yes.
Yeah, I love Fable. I'm so excited for the new game. But yeah, I sunk a ton of hours. I played all of them through, and then just like went through a lot of Mario games and stuff that I didn't play. Wind Waker, I made sure I 100% that, like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I didn't have a lot of time for gaming because my life was like, I need to work, make money so I can do things. And especially in college, it was like that. Like I was constantly working. But when I started to like relax more, I spent time playing Splatoon when that came out. And that is how I started streaming. I was streaming competitive Splatoon. Which is like the silliest thing, and everyone's really surprised when they learn that.
I love that though. I've only played Splatoon a couple times, but I love like the mechanic of the ink being on the map having to matter, like how much the map is covered by your team's color. I like that a lot.
It's a really cool and fun new IP that they came out with, and I really wish that they put more time into it because there really is something there. Like it's sticky. People want to come back to that game. But I didn't feel like simultaneously Breath of the Wild was going to come out soon, and they were going to announce the Switch, so it kind of fell to the wayside. And even Splatoon 2 wasn't that great. But yeah, I just found some people online and started playing with them, and we started to do tournaments and things. And for the tournaments, I would have to stream so people could see our point of view. So that's what I started doing. And then I just started doing it passively. Sometimes, like, I was playing Overwatch a lot when that first came out. Like, I played beta, and as soon as the release came out, I was like hours and hours into Overwatch. But gosh, I'm like trying to think of like my timeline of my life. So during the time that I was like living upstate and we were still pretty young, one of my friends introduced me to Hearthstone. Hearthstone. What was the release year?
2014.
I want to say 2014. That makes sense. That like lines up with what my friend told me. He was a big WoW player. So when Hearthstone came out, he started playing it. And he was like, I really feel like you'd like this. And I sat down and played like the tutorial through and stuff. I was like, oh, I kind of like this. This is interesting. I feel like this is something that I could kind of sink time into and do, I don't know, games on the toilet, even though Hearthstone is obviously not that really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, okay. It depends on how much time you're spending on the toilet, but that's not good for you. But yeah, I started playing pretty heavily around, I want to say 2015-ish, and trying for Legend. I was watching all of the, championships and Pro Tour and all of that and voting to get packs. And like, I was very into it. That was like, I love that so much. And it's so funny because, you watch the casters and like, them because you see them so often. I got to meet Raven for the first time last year because he's a Snap player. So when I went to England, I was like, I can't believe like I'm having a conversation with you right now. I was like, I'm not going to fangirl, obviously, but like, it's super cool. He's a very chill guy. But yeah, the younger me was like, this is very crazy.
That's awesome.
Nice. You were just talking about Splatoon. It made me think. I'm sure I just had to figure out who it was. Raren, the Hearthstone, if you're familiar with him, the cartoon creator. Mm-hmm. I guess he cut his teeth playing Mario Tennis, and that's how he got his start. He was like a big Mario Tennis Aces player.
Interesting.
It was like it's weird when people kind of find their way from like a random game like that, like Splatoon or Mario Tennis, into like Hearthstone. It's pretty cool.
I don't know if I ever put a lot of time into streaming Hearthstone now that I think of it. I think Hearthstone kind of coincided with the time of Overwatch. So it was sort of like my before bed, play a few games type thing. Mm-hmm. The highest that I ever got, which was probably around 2016, this is old ranking system. I want to say 3 was the highest that I ever got. And I was pretty proud of that. Like, that took a lot of work to get there. I'm actually curious, and I know you're interviewing me, but like, what is your point of view? Did you play the older like ranking system? My assumption is yes. And like, do you feel like this is more difficult than the previous system was?
For me personally, I feel like this is easier. Because granted, it's not the rat race anymore, which everyone started at rank 20 and then had to just go. But I feel like the star bonus, at least in my experience, the star bonus makes it feel easier to climb. In the old ranking system, the highest I ever got was Diamond 1, 2 stars. So
Diamond.
I was near Legend, but just a couple wins away, and I couldn't do it.
Oh, right.
Well, the old system wasn't Diamond, right? It was just...
No, there was rank 1, and then... So you're saying rank 1, and then...
Yeah, sorry. Rank 1, and then, 2 stars.
Oh, so you're, 1 off of Legend.
Yeah, I was just, a win or a few away. It was very close.
Yeah. I'd like to hear your response to that, Tito, because I'm curious.
I think it's easier and not easier at the same time. I think the games you're playing aren't necessarily easier because the matchmaking system is better, but the time commitment is easier because before, once they added rank floors where it's like you couldn't just tilt off the face of the planet, and go all the way back down from like rank 2 all the way rank down to 25 or whatever it was. And it was interesting. They used to start off with bonuses. Now, like the bonuses was where you started. Now it's just stars. So from what my experience, and I'm a much better Hearthstone player now than I was then too. So it's really hard to tell because as the system changed, I've also grown.
Right.
But at the same point, I think it's the games themselves are particularly maybe harder now because the matchmaking matches you up better. But the process overall is less time consuming because of those ranked floors and whatnot. So I think, but getting stuck between Diamond 5 and Legend is like the worst.
That is where I'm at right now.
Yeah. That's it takes about as much time to get from Diamond 5 to Legend as it did to get from Bronze 10 to Diamond 5, right? So
yeah,
it's finding the deck and finding your way through the meta, something that clicks and all that. But yeah, to answer your question, I think there's pluses and minuses to both.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make it to Legend, I don't think, until the ladder changed. I made it. I gotta remember exactly when I made it, but it was when we had the Dragon Hunter. So that was, I want to say 2018, 2019. So I'd been playing a long time before I ever hit Legend, but it was definitely not the original ladder system.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but that's when I was playing like 18 billion hours of WoW a year, which,
yeah, I feel like I agree with you that it feels easier, but you guys are sort of in this world where you're getting Legend consistently, so you're getting that 10-star bonus. And when I reset, no,
I've never hit Legend.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? It's just like you don't make the time commitment because it's a lot of time.
Yes. So granted, the last couple of expansions, I haven't played a bunch of Standard, but even when I was probably playing the most Standard that I've ever played, I would lose my star bonus at Gold 5. And so then I'd have to, I'd go 55 to 60% to through Platinum. And then by that point, it was about this time of the month, and I'd be so burnt out on Hearthstone, I'd play something else for the rest of the month.
I understand that. Yeah. It was definitely a slog this first time getting Legend. But I also felt like I was playing easy mode because I returned and it felt like there was times where I was like, is this a bot? This can't be real. A lot of the games have felt like that. But yeah, following getting Legend and them giving you a 10-star bonus is kind of wild. That's just here's Platinum for free. That's pretty much what they give to you. So I don't know how I really feel about that. I know that a lot of Legend players continue playing after, getting Legend to get higher up because that's where the prestige is at, right? But I'm very much I did it. I can move on to something else. That's good enough for me.
Now Doc is Doc could get Legend if he could figure out a way to get through that kind of squirrel towards the end of the month. But it's hard for him, and I know it's hard for a lot of our listeners. It's what that you have to put in time. It's there's no other way but you have to put in the time. And for not a lot of people, some people get bored, burnt out, whatever it is. I don't have that mindset. It's different. So it's hard for me to comprehend, but it's a lot of people are I can't, I've been playing, I get to hear, I can't. So that's why over this next few months, we're trying to get Doc to Legend, and we're doing it by not trying to do it all at once, but let's get up a rank. Let's go from this floor to this floor, this floor to this floor. And I used to be like you. I used to hit Legend, and I used to be like, okay, I hit Legend, great. Now let's play the weirdest decks we can. Mm-hmm. And let's, just because I've accomplished that. But then it's well, no, now I want to get better. And I don't want to go into it because I've talked about it a million times in the show. People are like, oh, here goes Cito again. But it's my job. I talk. This is a podcast. Sorry. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's once you decide that there's also anxiety too, right? It's getting to Legend, and it's oh my god, now there's a whole nother ladder to climb, and there's numbers involved, and it's a ranking. How does that work? And it's you can kind of just say, I'm not going to bother with it, and then at some point you'll be well, maybe I should give it a try. And you got to put the games in and get comfortable with it. And I'm planning on having an episode soon about ladder anxiety again, because that's definitely a thing that not only happens from the climb to Legend, but then once you hit Legend, it's a whole similar thing.
Yeah.
So Yeah, no, get that completely. And no, that's a great question. And by the way, we're interviewing you, so Doc, next question.
Sorry, I completely I went off the rails because I started talking about Hearthstone, but I can get back to like how I got into streaming because I know that was the original question.
No. Podcasting. We're podcasting. We're supposed to go off of tangents. What if we just stayed on topic, people would get bored and shut down and go listen to something like, I don't know.
Very true. You can move on. That's fine.
So Marvel Snap is your main game. What got you started with Snap?
My husband, he's like to blame for most things. It's confusing. So I'm not supposed to talk about it this way, but he got into the beta that was only available in the Philippines. And he definitely did not make an account to get access to the beta, to make a Philippines account or use Philippine money. No, he did not do that to get access to the season passes like everybody else who is like a current creator. But that
was a variant of him. That was a different variant.
Yeah, I didn't see it happen. But he was constantly playing, like obsessed. At all times he was playing. There was something, he had a game up, even when he was playing other games. And I didn't really like ask anything. He plays a lot of games passively like I do. I can't really remember. I think I was still, I was very focused on like, I think it was Elden Ring that I was streaming most of during this time. And that was kind of like sinking a lot of time into that. But he came up to me one day and he's like, if I am able to get this set up on your phone, will you play if I teach you? And I'm like, well, sure, why not? This is like 2 months before the global release happens. And yeah, that was it. I was hooked and was sinking hundreds of hours into this game. And there was a few people that actually streamed during the beta, and I think I did like 1 or 2 streams, but not a lot of people knew about the game or were interested in watching it. But my brain was like, okay, my focus is trying to make this full-time streaming work. This is the perfect opportunity for me to jump into a game at square one and maybe, get some footholds, grow my community. And yeah, the magic happened and I was pulling over 100 CCV within the first month of release. And it was like very weird. At first it was like, I don't know why this is happening to me. But yeah. And then you sort of get stuck there. So I feel like stuck isn't the right word, but it's like when your community or the people that watch you or even like lurk are looking specifically for Snap, it's hard to pivot to other things. So I guess that's sort of my struggle right now because I am in the stage of being very burnt out by Snap, and mostly because the balance changes have been tough to deal with, and the meta is very strange and oppressive, and it doesn't feel as good as it used to. And I can't put my finger on why, really. But yeah, and my husband doesn't play Snap anymore. He hasn't played since like maybe a few months after global release. So
he just got you hooked on it.
Yeah.
No, he's in Uzbekistan right now, signing up for a whole entirely new game.
I mean, he is playing some weird beta right now. I don't know what's happening in that other room right now.
I do have a question for you though, because I got off Snap around January, and one thing I've seen people complain about, and I don't know and this sounds like what you're talking about. It seems like what they do is they have the new cards that come out and they're overtuned and they're the most powerful thing to do. And then once that month goes by and they're no longer it's no longer the flavor of the month and they want to promote the new things, they undertune, they nerf those down, and then they make the new things more overpowered so then people can't play the decks they want. And that got frustrating to me because I was never catching up and I was a free-to-play player and I could get cards, but it was the economy of it. I hated the economy of it where I couldn't catch up and I couldn't I couldn't say I want to craft this card or I want to direct myself. So do you think they're doing that on purpose in a way that is to try to force people to stay monetarily paying for the game ahead of time? And if you don't want to answer this because you are a creator in the space.
Oh,
okay, go ahead.
I will crap all over this. And for the listeners, I was rapidly nodding to everything he just said. So, yeah, I am sort of in a situation where I want to be loud about how I'm feeling, because I feel like I'm in like this top percentage of streamers, and I'm not even that big of a streamer in Snap. Like, there's people pulling thousands of viewers. But I do have the ear of the devs because, you know, I've been creating for Snap for over a year now. And if more of us speak up, I do feel like it makes a difference, because they see, oh, well, you know, the creators are our bread and butter. And if they're not enjoying the game and not wanting to play, then we're screwing up. And yeah, so for that reason, I'm like, you gotta speak out. We can't just sit here and be like, okay, everything's fine. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. So as far as, wow, there's a lot of questions in that. As far as like over-tuning things go, I think that all of us, this is like very tinfoil hat, honestly. But so I'll think of an example right now. There was a OTA, which is, listeners who are not Snap players, it's called Over the Air, where they can make updates to cards, like the card's power and cost and the text, but they can't make changes to like mechanics in the game. So it's just a passive way that they can make small updates while they're also developing stuff for larger patches. So last week there was an OTA that buffed a card called Lady Deathstrike. And then a few days later, a $50 bundle for Lady Deathstrike hit the store.
Woof.
Yeah. It's a little weird. And a lot of people were on Twitter like, WTF? Like, how are you going to stand up to this one? This seems a little weird. It's suspect. So there is definitely rumblings of the idea that they are playing the game. And the game, I mean like the microtransaction game, and not really putting time into balancing the game as much as we're expecting them to. Like, it took them almost an entire year to nerf Loki, which was easily the most oppressive card in the meta. It sat there untouched. They made like slight changes to like other cards that were included, like Collector got changed, and then some other cards got, like Quinjet got changed, but they never touched Loki. And it was so frustrating because everybody was screaming. Like, this wasn't a quiet majority. Like, well, some of the largest creators were in the creator channel begging the devs, like, why aren't you doing anything? And they had no good answers. So truly, I don't know. I don't know the reasoning behind it. They're seeing it, this stuff. They see it happening. They see what we're saying. They see the questions, but it's like, it's tough. So there's this one, I don't know what his title is. He's like the developer. He's head of like balance changes or something like that. And the way he answers questions it's very wordy, and it makes you feel like he's trying to make you feel incompetent, like you can't understand the data of the game. So you can't understand why we're making the changes that we are because of XYZ, if that makes sense. Like, he took it into a thesaurus and changed like 1,000 words and made you feel stupid when you were reading it. And that feels like every message she sends. So when it came to questions about balance changes, you know, he was being very wordy with things, even in like the patch notes. So they're very like, okay, he must know what she's talking about. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. So surely he's making the right choices. But then in another situation, he'd be answering a question about like, why isn't Loki changed? And the person is saying, he likes he likes how polarizing the card is and doesn't want to make a change to it because of that. He likes that it pisses people off. So I don't get it. Like, it's weird.
It's not Tian Ding, is it? Because he came from Hearthstone.
No. So I don't really understand their full like work structure and like who is in what. I have had like a lot of my relationship has been with people at Newverse, who is their publisher, but not for too much longer. They're separating. But yeah, I don't know. And where is Ben? Like, what is he doing? I haven't seen him around, which is a little strange to me. So I'm questioning.
He's on Commander at home.
Yeah.
Playing Magic with Brian Kibler and Olivia.
That's actually true. Isn't there like a video that they just did of them playing Magic together or something like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's been on like 4 or 5 times at least.
Yeah. So I mean,
no, he's off. Him and Yang Wu are off making third dinner, whatever they're spinning off next.
You know, it's funny. That's like another tinfoil thing that we think that they are developing their next game, and that's why they're cannonballing Snap, because they're using all of their resources to their second game. And there have been job postings for another game, an unannounced project. So I don't know.
Rough. Well, I'm sorry that's happening to a game that you have enjoyed so much at one point.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think that's what makes it so difficult, because I am so emotionally invested in this game. Obviously, I mean, I've been making content for it for it's probably a year and a half at this point. That it is frustrating and upsetting. Like, I've cried on stream and be like, this is so stupid that I'm crying over this situation, but it makes you feel bad. And when the game makes you feel bad, but you know you have to come back and do it every single day, it's hard. It is draining.
It's not sad in that you are reacting to it, because you are tying your livelihood to creating content for this game.
Yes.
And then if they are, in your opinion, failing on their end of the gig by not continuing to balance or not continuing to create new things or support you in the way that kind of, I'm assuming, is there a creative program you're involved in or whatnot?
Yeah.
So you're trying to, you are essentially a commercial for their game, but you're also using it as your livelihood, and they are not following up on their end. That's got to be very frustrating, because then it's like, well, how do I pivot from this? Do I pivot from this? Are you going to help me out? So it is for those that think that it's easy to stream and it's easy to make a live streaming, these are the things you have to deal with.
Yeah. And it's tough because I have a family, and it makes you feel really guilty. Like, am I making a horrible decision by continuing to do this? Like, is this a dead end? So I am job hunting, so hire me. But yeah.
2 out of 3 people on the podcast tonight are looking for jobs. Let's go.
But yeah, what you said is 100% it, that they're not pulling their side of the relationship. And it has become more and more clear as time goes by that they don't care. And mostly, so I don't know if you guys like keep tabs on how often they do Twitch drops. I feel like they are truly working us to the bone. And as much as I'm thankful for the ad rev that comes from Twitch drops, they've been doing Twitch drops like every 2 weeks. And it lasts for an extended period of time. And that means we're all pulling an insane amount of hours because we're trying to take advantage of it. But it's like, holy crap, man. And if they're putting these out there, like, Twitch drops is their way of pulling people in. So if they're treating us like crap, like, something's got to give eventually. Or not.
And I've seen your frustration. Because, like, you're struggling in the meta right now as a top player because of the balance changes that they're making or not making. And you're just like, well, what am I supposed to do here? Because if you just play the best decks or the most interesting decks, or you play the best decks or the decks you're supposed to play based on how they balanced it, that's boring and that's not going to keep your audience. You want to play the fun things and things with it for you. And so, I mean, I've seen how frustrated you've gotten. So,
yeah. That's really it. Being forced to play the meta, which, this can also translate heavily to Hearthstone, I think, as far as the climb goes. You can't really mess around you can't mess around prior to Legend if you're, like, interested in dabbling in new stuff, because you're screwing yourself, essentially. So that's how I feel when I'm trying to get Infinite. And I am so tired of playing the meta. And I want to be able to play this weird mill deck that I'm screwing around with and trying to make work, but I can't because I just lose. And you're not rewarded for being creative in this game. Whereas I feel like Hearthstone, you have some wiggle room because there's 30 cards, right? So you can make some tweaks here and there to like things to see, oh, maybe this card can work here. Or maybe this interaction will be interesting and be, successful. You have 12 cards in a deck in Snap. There is not a lot of wiggle room there. So, yeah.
So do you feel like playing Snap has made you better at Hearthstone at all? Or has playing Hearthstone changed the way you view playing Snap?
I would say that Snap has definitely made me a better Hearthstone player. I think that I understand, like planning out my turn 1 through turn 5 and knowing what my path of logic is. And if my opponent is playing X, I need to do this to stop them. And understanding the like cause and effect type things has really changed how I look at Hearthstone. As far as like, I'm not just throwing cards down and going face,
Yeah.
I have an understanding now. And I'm able to apply stuff that I learned when I first started playing Hearthstone about the basics. Like you want to have like control over the board and have more minions, but you don't want to throw your minions into the big guys if you can't take them out in a turn. Like those little key things that maybe didn't stick in the very beginning, but now make a lot of sense to me. I think it's just like that strategic brain and like farming that and learning and like growing has really changed things for me. I mean, for the better. I'm enjoying a lot more strategic games than I feel like I ever would have. So I'm like very, very much a farming simulator type gal, but here I am playing card games.
Do you enjoy the snap mechanic itself?
No, I hate it. It's gambling. It's literally all it is. And it's awful. It makes you feel awful. And I would love to go through my infinite climb not snapping at all. And actually, Regis Kilbin does that. He does not snap. And he does his infinite climbs not snapping. And it takes forever to climb. So you are effectively, by not gambling, you are punished, and it takes you a really long time to get infinite, if at all. So, yeah. I don't know.
Another former Hearthstone streamer. Real quick, Doc, we skipped that one question. Right about that one.
Yep. So how did you go from streaming Splatoon to streaming full time?
I got fired.
Oh, sorry.
No, so my like work, I've been in a lot of startups, smaller companies, and they kind of like that's like normal things. Layoffs happen.
Yeah.
So that was just something I was used to. It happened a lot. But more recently, I lost my job in 2022. And at the time, I was just sort of like, you know what? I'm going to give myself a break. I've been working since I got out of college nonstop. I'm going to give myself to some time and, soak in the unemployment and chill. And everybody in my family agreed with that. And they're like, yeah, do it. You don't need to go find a job right away. And I'm like, cool. I think I'll do that. So I was just casually doing like variety streaming, but I was doing like a full-time schedule, 9 a.m. until, later in the afternoon, if not the evening. And, I'm a small streamer, pulling maybe 40 to 50 viewers, nothing too crazy. But then the Snap global release happened at, then my brain is breaking, the end of 2022. And just as that was happening and I got partner, I was offered a new job. So I was like in turmoil because I'm like, I'm actually successful right now. And like, this is actually happening. Am I making the wrong decision by going back to work and switching to night streams? And I was pulling from 7 a.m. I'm momming, and then I'm working, and then I'm putting my kid to bed, and then I'm streaming until 11. Like, I was booked, and it was exhausting. But I kept doing it, and then I got laid off. Earlier in the year, I got laid off in a big tech layoff. And I was like, all right, that's a sign, I guess. Like, nobody wants me to have a real job, I guess. So then I just kept going and rode with it. And I think that the biggest thing with that like kept me going is staying consistent. And I don't think I would be in the mental state, like stability state. That's kind of pushing the truth, but you know what I mean? Like without having that consistency of coming back to streaming every single day. So that's kept me going, but it does, you know, I do want a job. I need that money. I'd like to move to a new place.
So do you make any other kind of content other than your Twitch streams that our listeners could look out for, like on YouTube or TikTok or anything else?
I wish that I had the time to do any of that, but I don't. I have given TikTok like the old college try. I think I have pretty good, like, you know, quick clips that work well on TikTok. They do well, but I don't have the time or money to like edit and get it posted and stuff. So it's just sort of a weighing like, do I want to give myself a few hours at the end of the day to just veg out, or do I want to spend that time working? And, you know, streaming can be a 24/7 job because you're constantly grinding. But I think it's different when you're a parent and you've also got like that stress on top of it. It changes things. And I think that that's missed by a lot of people when they see a streamer and saying, well, you're not posting in other places, so clearly you're not going to grow. But it's like, sometimes you have to choose what you're going to do. It's either you have money and you're paying an editor and they're doing it for you, or you're doing it on your own with the time that you have. So I know your question was what other content? I don't know. I post funny stuff on Twitter. Just come watch me stream. I'm always live.
Perfect. So you made Legend for the first time last month. What deck did you play? Was it kind of by happenstance, or was it something you were focusing on to make happen?
I feel like I might get some groans from the deck that I got Legend with. Hand Buff Paladin, which is incredibly broken. Incredibly broken deck. It's like crazy broken. Like it's turn 6 and you're dead. Why is that okay? But yeah.
Maybe I should play some Paladin. I've been thinking about it.
Is this sarcastic? Because he plays a lot of Paladin? Okay, I'm just trying to catch on to the joke here. But I played a good amount of the Dragon Druid combo deck that was out there. Yep. And then they were like, oh, Splish Splash Whelp, no, we're going to change that. So, we're going to disable it first. And I was like, I don't know what to replace that with. And I don't feel like trying to figure that out, so I'm going to switch. And then I picked up Hand Buff Paladin and rode that all the way to Legend. But yeah, I mean, once I started like climbing, I was like, oh, like this is attainable. And I was texting my friend, and I'm like, if I get Legend this season, Snap is dead. And I'm like sending him updates of like what rank I am. I'm like, Snap is so over. Snap is so done. I'm still playing Snap. I did get Legend, but I'm still playing Snap. But yeah, once I hit Platinum, I was like, I think I have to do this. I have to see if it's possible, because I go through so many moments in my daily basis of feeling like, am I washed? Like, is this over for me? Because I can't win a game in Snap. And it felt really satisfying to like attain that goal that seemed so out of reach for so long for me, and be like, oh, maybe I can, like, maybe I'm actually okay at this game or strategy games in general. But yeah, and then after that I was like, all right, well, if I do it again, then cool. But then they were like, oh, but here's a 10x star bonus. You can climb really easily. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And now I'm like Diamond 5, and now I have to do it. I can't not do it at this point.
You think 10 stars is nice. Wait till you get 11 stars. Just saying.
Really? Well, let me say, I absolutely blew my 10 stars. I lost every single game when I had the 10-star bonus. Like, you know, when you like, you'll win, and so you climb a tiny bit, and then you lose, and you lose, and you lose, and you get to that point where it's like, okay, well, now you only have like 8 stars. Sorry. And it's like, okay, but now you only
that's not how it works.
I don't know.
Every time you go up a rank floor, you lose a star. So when you go from bronze 10 to bronze 5, you go from 10 stars to 9 stars. When you go from bronze 5 to gold 10 or whatever it is, whatever the order is, then you lose another star. So it's basically, it gives you stars to help you climb up faster. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to diamond, if you're at 10 stars, you have 2 stars until you get to diamond 5, and then you have the 1 star for the rest of the climb.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. But in my mind, I was like, oh, but this 10-star bonus, it can be a 20-star bonus if I keep winning. And then my idea was like, if I can get that like extra boost in the next rank, then I will be farther ahead in that rank and like be able to climb faster. Yep. If that makes sense. I don't know if that's like the proper way of seeing it, but that was my understanding of it.
No. So basically you get 10, if you get to legend, you're going to be at 10 stars for the most part. If you get to the top 10% of legend, then you get 11 stars.
That's cute. That's not happening.
And I believe in you, but there are there's some ways like it's not completely based on the floors. Like you can have maybe not make legend, but your MMR is so good that you still get the 10 stars.
Interesting.
So there's some math we don't really, behind the scenes math we don't completely understand, but we understand enough. But yeah, if you make legend, you will have 10 stars.
Interesting.
Unless you get 11 stars. So it's, don't think of it that way. It's more like you're not losing stars by losing, you're losing stars by winning. Great.
Excellent. I'm losing my mind by doing both, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting mechanic. They don't have... Snap doesn't really have that. Like, if you hit infinite, no matter what rank you sit at, within infinite, you'll go down to 70. Period.
Right.
That's your reset. If you are in the 90s, you reset to, like, 50.
60.
It should be 60, which is interesting, because I ended at 90, and I didn't reset to 60. I reset to, like, 55 or 56, and I was like, oh, that feels awful.
So the combination would be as if like you were in the top 10% of infinite players, you would be reset to 80. Would be kind of like,
that would be like the comparable thing. But the thing is if you look at the people who are sitting at that top, their MMR is bot MMR. They're facing either each other or bots. So they farm their bots to get to infinite, and then when nobody is in infinite, they're farming bots to get to the top 100 and getting more snap points. So it's like artificial, and it's frustrating, which has been a thing that has existed since they changed the way that the rankings work. So
in Legend, if you get, depending on where your MMR is, if you're in Legend, if you are like at the bottom of the Legend ladder, like towards... If there's 10,000 and you're like 9,950, you can face people that are still getting to legend.
Really?
You're not restricted to that legend. Yeah.
Because it's all based off of your internal MMR. So if someone in non-legend is doing really, 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 really well and has been playing people that have also been doing really well, then you can get started getting matched up to people that are on the higher end of the rank ladder.
Do you ever throw games for those people?
Some people do, but unfortunately now it's a bannable offense.
What? How can they prove that?
Because you can report people for throwing a game now.
That's like
for
telling
intentionally
on your pal.
losing.
Oh my gosh.
If you're at the bottom of Legend and you happen to just say, you know what, I concede, and they make it to Legend, no one's going to report you for that.
Well,
it's not win trading. It's not like people win trade to get their ranks higher.
Right.
That's not that.
I don't see that as win trading, because in Snap they changed it. Now infinite people only face infinite. Because when you hit infinite, you didn't lose rank. So people would go in and they just donate cubes to get people to infinite,
right? And
falsely inflate, but nothing was done. So like towards the end, when that existed, I would go into the ladder and like all stream donating cubes, just giving 8 cubes away to everybody. Everybody gets infinite, but now I can't do that anymore. It's not fun. But I guess I guess that you could do this in Hearthstone, but it's very different, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, how many when you made the Legend? How did the last few games go? Did you like bounce around to get close, bounce back down, get close, bounce back down?
Yeah, So I know with like the 1-star, once I hit 5 and I started getting the 1-star, I was like, oh, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought it was, because I was on like a win streak for a while, and I was like, oh, I am plowing through. This is so easy. And then it was 1-star at a time. I'm like, oh, okay. So
yeah, you lose win streak. You lose winning streaks from Diamond 5 to Legend, no matter what rank, whether you're 10 stars or 11 stars. So
that makes sense. It makes sense, of course. But I was, of course, disappointed. But yeah, when I finally got to rank 1, I was like, oh, it's only a few games, only like maybe 3 games, but it was more like 5 or 10. And when I finally got it, I wasn't streaming, and I was just like sitting in bed.
Oh, and it is not uncommon to make it to the final, what we call the final boss, is the last person you play until you get Legend. That's kind of the common term. And then to tilt off the face of the planet and go all the way back down to D5 and saying what just happened.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I faced only Legend players on my way back up. I say that only based off of like card back, but that's pretty good, like determinant of that's the MMR that I'm playing.
They made it there before.
Yeah. You have no idea how happy I was with that card back, though. I was like, oh my God, look at me.
Of course you are. I used that for the first year of being a Legend. I was using that card back. And then you eventually say, okay, now that I've done it let's go ahead and try some of the things. Now that I flex, yeah. But so you made it there with Handbook Paladin. What are your favorite classes? What's your favorite class, and what's your favorite deck of all time?
Of all time? That's an interesting one. I can't remember the exact deck, but I can tell you that it was a mage deck. This was at the time of the Infinite Fireball. So do you guys understand the Infinite Fireball? Yeah, so that was the time of that. There was a deck that was using Stargazer Luna, but I can't exactly remember what the combo was, but I loved that deck. And how is Stargazer Luna still in Standard? Like, I was very surprised to see that.
So I think the deck you were talking about, it had Archmage Antonidas, and you had 2 sources. You had the Sorcerer's Apprentice. You copy one, you copy another one, and your fireballs are 0, and just keep going it. They have a core set now, which every year they change what's in the core set, and that core set is cards that are free for everybody for the year, and they bring back cards like Stargazer. Whatever we just talked about, whatever
Stargazer Luna, yeah. That's so interesting. I didn't know that. Somebody played her.
It's how Leroy's back too. Like they'll throw in a bunch of cards. Like it's really fun, and they have said that they're open to swapping cards in and out of the core set throughout the year, depending on if like the meta desperately needs that kind of a change.
Well, they did just add for this recent set that they just have, Perils in Paradise, they added a bunch of locations. So even though she never sees play, they added Demolition Expert, which is maybe the wrong name of the card, but it's a card that destroys a location.
Yeah.
And they added it. No one plays it, but they were like, just in case, here you go.
Interesting.
So
yeah. Yeah, I was playing somebody before the season reset, and they played Stargazer Luna, and I had this like moment of like deep nostalgia. And I was like, oh my god, this is so like, whoa. This was like young me setting up that combination, and like, oh man. Yeah, it was very bizarre to finally get to that point, and I was like, holy crap. This is it. It's like making it famous, but it's literally just you in your bed.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised with how many people like who are trying to get their first legend push on stream will get really close and then be like, okay, stream's done. They go to bed, play a couple games, and then they make it.
Yep.
Like that is a very common thing to happen.
Yep. It's the pressure of being live. I truly believe it, because the first time I got Infinite on Snap, that's exactly what happened. I was not live.
Our guest Jocelyn last week just said that she was so close to getting her first legend. She was like Diamond 1, 2 stars or 1 star. She's like, let's fire up the stream. And by the end of it, she had like dropped way back down. No. She's like, nope, never mind. And so it is one of those things, right? It's like, I remember when I got it, I was driving. I was with my wife had a vanity that she wanted that was custom made, and we were going to pick it up, and it was like an hour and a half away, and I'm in the car, she's driving.
Okay.
And I'm just playing.
That was an important
and I hit it there. Well, no, it was just, but it was like, it was such a random thing. It was well before I was streaming and all that, but it was like, I wasn't sitting at home. I didn't have all my deck track or whatnot. I was kind of half focused, but I'm just like, I hit a streak and I was like, let's keep it riding.
Yeah.
And we got there.
It's when you're more casual and you're relaxed and you're not really overthinking your plays. I feel like that is when you're at your best, and it's such an interesting concept the more you think about it. Like, why can't I always play like that?
All right, Doc. Yeah, agreed. Doc, we have one more question before we go on to the main topic. This is the most important one of all.
So how did you decide upon the name Eggs?
It's such a boring answer.
They usually are.
I'm not going to divulge the actual name, but my maiden name was often mispronounced as Eggy. And it became just like a nickname that I used like passively, like, you know, when you make like little t-shirts in high school and you put your nickname on the back of it, like Eggs was what was on the back. And, you know, getting that handle is not something that's attainable in pretty much any platform on the internet. So I had to come up with something else. And at the time, banana for scale was something that was like a big thing on Reddit. And I was like, oh, eggs for sale is funny. And then I could do like an eggs for scale type thing. And like I had like this whole like built up thing. So my first like actual persona was eggs for sale. And I became annoyed with people asking me how much the eggs were. So I was like, okay, I get it. I did this to myself. So when I hit partner and they like, you have the opportunity to change your user handle. And I just randomly messaged partner support and I was like, just curious if eggs is available. I know that's like a long shot. And like 10 seconds later, they reply and say yes. And I was like, oh, this is huge. But this is like a rebrand effectively, because like everything is eggs for sale. All of my account names are eggs for sale. And when I got it, I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm just eggs. And it's a great conversation starter. It really is. Like, you roll up into anybody's chat, and if they see follows and you follow them, they're like, oh, your name is just eggs. And it's like, yeah, it is. Thanks for noticing.
Well, so you could have went with just eggs if you couldn't have got eggs.
Yeah,
just eggs.
That's true. But so you remember when they did the Discord rollover and you could get like your username? So I have been a Discord member for like ever and ever, and I never got like the notification to sign up for my new name, and I started to get really anxious. I was like, somebody's gonna get eggs. They're gonna snap it up right away. But I got it, and I was like, oh, okay. But then I got a million friend requests on a daily basis. And I finally closed like my friend requests because people were just sending friend requests to see if the name was available. And I was like, I didn't realize that it was like this in demand. So
yeah, I'm lucky I'm lucky you added me as a friend because we were able to get you on here. But yeah, no, and I like I forget what your email was, but I remember reading it. Maybe it was eggs for sale or something like that. But it was really cute. It was like such a play on the name, and like a lot of your things are just play on eggs, and I thought it was really nice.
It's eggs for like FOUR because I couldn't get eggs for sale because it was already taken by some like chicken person.
And if you ever stream at night where it's like, you're playing, I don't know, if we Sway at night is when she sway. If you're familiar with Sway Bay, she's a battleground swimmer, and she has Sway at night once in a great while, which is like an alternate persona where she might like, have a couple drinks and swear, which is so not her, on her normal stream. So maybe you could have like deviled eggs or something.
So that's interesting. A group of people do like fake wrestling-esque Snap League, where everybody creates these really in-depth personas with like backgrounds and like creates fake fights and stuff like that. And then we play matches against each other on the weekends. So I was asked to do that, and I was like, can I just be like gothic and creepy and my name is Deviled Eggs? And they're like, yeah. So I like full black makeup in like a cloak and candles. And it was very entertaining. And so Deviled Eggs does exist. Just
heck yeah.
She's around. She's somewhere.
So let's move on to something a little more lighthearted. Streaming competing as a woman in 2024. So
Lovely.
we've been wanting to have an episode. We've been wanting to have an episode to talk about this for a little while now, and I talked to Eggs a few months ago, and I wanted to put together something, and she graciously agreed. And as me and Doc are both two white men, we're not really equipped to speak about it, but we definitely think it's an important issue. So, Eggs, as a woman streamer, you stream and you play competitive card games, and there's the added difficulty that male streamers don't have to deal with, or male competitors don't have to deal with. So this also adheres to diverse folks as well, black folks and whoever, but we have a woman on, so we're going to talk to a woman. But like, we understand that this is more widespread than just women. So let's kind of start with streaming. Do you feel like when people enter your chat that they respect you as a gamer first now, or do you feel like they see that you have to prove yourself, or do they give you the same respect as a male streamer right off the bat, or what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely not. The amount of people that roll in first time chat and say the weirdest stuff is it's an insane amount. But I just roast the crap out of him, and it takes care of itself. But that's the hardest part about trying to be competitive in pretty much any space, is the need to perform, to prove myself. And I take it very badly because I feel like I'm disappointing myself, like the person that I don't know. It's hard. It's something that I deal with a lot, especially when it comes to like, the Conqueror shows that Second Dinner puts on and all that. It really just stemmed from when I was first invited to the first Conquerors, and the stuff people were saying online about me was wild. And stuff like she was only invited because she's a girl, or like she's not going to do well, you don't vote for her. And like some really mean stuff. I watched her for 1 minute, but she was so annoying. I had to mute and leave the channel immediately. A lot of that stuff. And that's the type of stuff that just like, whatever. These people don't know me. Who cares? But it does set this like thing in your head where you're saying, okay, but I have to show them that they're wrong. And I am here for a reason. It's not just because I'm a woman and I'm a streamer. Like, I have some semblance of skill, but I have not showed up. So it's always felt pretty bad in the end, because I put a lot of pressure onto myself. But I've learned to like pull back on that, and sort of just allow myself to feel like I've worked hard to get here, and I deserve to be here, even if I maybe don't have the equal amount of skill as some of the other people that are here. Yeah.
But even so, this is not unique to you. This is unique to most women that are trying to break into the competitive space, and it's not something the men have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is
like,
yeah. Sorry to cut in. I had a conversation with some Hearthstone streamers actually at the time of. There's something happened, and I'm trying to remember. I know that Cora tweeted something, about her not being included as a caster in something, and it like spun out of control. Like there was people saying like the most disgusting stuff about her, and like Celissa was responding, and that was how Sun Glitters and I started talking, because like I butted in and like replied to everything that was going on, because it's like, this is a really good example. Hearthstone has so many more eyes than Snap does. Like, look at this. Where are the women? Where are they? They're literally being blocked from being represented. It's crazy. But it exists across all video games, not just strategy games. FPS is the hardest space to be in, I would say, past strategy games.
We had Hearthstone had Grandmasters where they it was like the best of the best, and it was supposedly the best of the best, and it was like the top league where they competed every week. It was esports where you had, like Firebat was initially invited, and they had the initial invites, and then they had to earn their way in, and they had to avoid being relegated and stuff like that. And they had who were the initial folks? They had Patra. I can't even remember how to say her name.
Panthra,
yeah, that
and
sounds right.
one other. And they got so much grief from the community because they were just said, hey, they were invited to be there, even though maybe they weren't the best, because they needed to be, because they were women. And so, like right now, we just had the Masters Tour this weekend for Hearthstone, and it was all male, and it's almost always all male. Occasionally a woman squeaks in. Occasionally you get someone like Lion, who won it all and just completely dominated the competition, and that was such a amazing moment in Hearthstone history, and she was great. But how important? I'm going a little off script here, so apologies. But how important do you think it is that, because of how much extra difficult it is in the current climate for women to be able to, like you said, you belong there, you can compete, but you have this extra layer of BS you have to deal with because people are questioning you, and you want to prove that you belong there, but that's pressure that you don't need on top of trying to compete at the highest level. So that's like an extra handicap for just about any women competing in this. How important do you think it is for them to invite women, even if maybe they're not quite performing at that level, given that you guys are forced to deal with this kind of stuff as you go? Because it seems like a lot of time, especially I think a few months ago, they had, I think 2 or 3 months ago, they had one of those challengers things or whatever it's called at Snap. And I know you were very expressive about how little representation there was.
Mm-hmm. That's the second time they've done that, where there was no representation. But the first time I called them out, and that was, whew, the internet's mean. But yeah, so this is something that that's like talked about a lot when I call out Second Dinner or whoever is I've since found out that New Versus their publisher is the person who is handling all of these. So they're the ones to blame in all of this. But it's the main talking point of a lot of the people who come in and say the horrible stuff is, well, they should have earned their spot. They should have, if they think that they belong there, then they should prove it. Like, they should be the top player. They should be in the top 100. Like, why isn't that it? But the thing is that the people that are there aren't the best players. They're not the top 100. The criteria that is set is clearly not based off of who is the best. It's just based off of, whatever metric they're setting in their decision making. Like in the most recent one, it was 1,000 plus CCV, Snap streamers or like regular variety streamers. And then there was like the women that were included. So it was Nina, Fan, and Pawnee Poon. Nina and Pawnee, they're not 1,000 CCV. So whatever this metric is, that gets shattered because they didn't fit that criteria. And then people are like, oh, well, then they shouldn't be included. There's other people that can be involved in there. So there's always something. There's always like some little thing that makes it unattainable for us. And I think that is like across the board. This is like, I don't know if you will go right now, but if you go to Twitch and you look at the top streamers currently, there are drops happening for Snap. And you look at who's sitting there, you will see the large difference that exists. Dexter is live, and he has 7,000 viewers, then followed by Alex Kocha, I always say his name wrong, with 2,800, and then another man with 1,000. Next person has 500, also a man. Following man is 500 viewers, also a man. And then Snurp is up there, which is great. I love to see people get that, but it's usually because of a raid that happened. During the day, if you look like during my block of the day, 9 a.m. until 5 p.m., it is, usually Dara, Jeff, and sometimes Alex or Dexter when drops are happening because they stream 24/7. And it's just man for like 3 layers of screens. And even if I'm sitting at like 130 or 50 viewers, I'm all the way at the bottom. So you just get pushed down. And it's just simply because people gravitate towards men. They don't want to watch women. This is just like a statistic that exists. And I get it. That's for pretty much every single video game because they expect they see man probably has better skill and that's who they're going to watch. And then everybody sees those numbers and they'll go to that place because they think they're the most popular streamer. So it's like a waterfall effect. So it's like going back to like the criteria that they're setting of 1,000 CCV. It's like, sure, but that's also very difficult to attain in this specific category because everything's floating to the top. All the dudes are getting the attention because they're at the top. And there's one thing that really pisses me off. It's like, I love the guys at the top. People that I named, those are people that I'm friends with. But they know that they have it good. And they raid into each other. And it's so frustrating seeing them trade their 7,000 viewers with another person who was going to pull that number anyway, but to raid into them and not give other people an opportunity to take that spot at the top. So it's rough. No one wants to help you. You're on your own. That's pretty much how it goes.
I mean, to be fair, I take my 12 viewers and I try to raid into somebody with 6 viewers. So I do try to help out there. So obviously, so what we talked about, there's a big hurdle because even if your skill level is there, you have that extra hurdle. People say, so when people come into your chat or people come into maybe a tournament you're in or something like that, and they say things that maybe not appropriate or whatnot, whether it's, harassment or is just questioning your skill or whatnot, ignore it. How often do you hear that and how hard is that?
I hear that all the time. Just mute them. Just block them. Just mute yourself. Leave the voice channel. Like, that's something I heard through all of my years outside of streaming. When I played Overwatch, I was actually talking to my friend recently about this because I showed him the main reason we started talking in the first place was that video that came out of someone playing Valorant, and the person in voice chat threatened to SA her And and she was like, so you think you can just say that? And he's like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. And it's just like, okay, the comments were just mute him. Don't go in voice. Why would you do that? Sorry, my bad for wanting to, be communicative and like be successful and play properly. But when I was in Overwatch and I was playing hours and hours a day, I heard some of the worst stuff that you can even imagine. And to let that roll off your back is so hard. And to just mute them is even harder because you know that they're still going. You know it's still happening, even if it's muted. Like I'm not blind to it. They'll put it in text chat too. That's not the solution. It never has been and it never will be. And obviously there's no like clear-cut solution. Like we can't just be like, stop acting like that. Duh. But there's always going to be people like that. And it's really just about how the people around you react to it, whether they are a bystander and they don't say anything and they just let it happen, or they say, yo, dude, that's messed up. You can't say stuff like that. And then that person is the white knight. Then they're the simp. So there's no winning. So, it's like it used to just spiral. It just gets darker and darker because there's no winning this situation.
Well, there is winning, right? There is winning if the company that supports this game or Twitch or whatever permabans the IP address of this person or kicks them out of the game or whatnot. But that'll never happen because that would be throwing revenue away, and who wants that?
Sure. Yeah.
But it is right. We'll get to that part later as far as like how we can help or try how we should be helping. So what do you think about all women tournaments? Like when I know Hearthstone has like Badass Women of Hearthstone where they've done some of that, although I haven't seen anything from them in a little while. But do you feel like that is a positive contribution, or do you think that kind of separates and say, well, women can't compete with the men, so let's put them in the women? And I personally come from playing especially card games. Like that is all like, who knows? People say all kinds of things about, hey, maybe women don't have the same APM as men. I think that's BS. But let's take that out for the side. Card games, it's all brain, right? It's all just making strategic choices, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. Like women can compete as much as men. We should be 50-50 right now. Like that should be like the standard. Do you think that having all women tournaments and that kind of thing detracts from that, or do you think that gives at least some representation to say, hey, let's highlight the ability of these people?
It's tough. It's definitely a catch-22. I don't like it. It feels patronizing. It feels like they're trying to save face. It doesn't feel genuine because they know that, it's like every company setting their avatar to rainbow during Pride Month. Like that's the best way I can equate it. They don't really care. They're just trying to fill that box, that checkbox that, oh, we gave the women their time. They have their little tournament, like good for them. But, okay, include them in like the higher up stuff, and I'm sure that they would succeed. And it's different for Hearthstone. It's like sort of a slippery slope, right? Like if I don't know how the choices go, but I'm just going to make assumptions here. You can correct me if you feel I'm really going off the rails, but it's like based off of how well you're doing in ladder, right? But that also comes down to how much time you're putting into the game. So person who's number one in Legend is putting hundreds of hours to stay at number one and to keep that spot. And so it's not effectively about skill. It's about how much time you have. And it's almost like that for all strategy games. So how can I, a person who has a life outside of streaming, effectively show how good I am at the game if I can't put thousands of hours into it? And I think that is everybody. So how is that a metric to go by? But then we fall back to, then the women should prove it. Okay. So do it over like a period of time. Say you get to spend 50 hours playing Hearthstone, and you get to see how far you get. And then we'll go based off of that. Then we'll create a leaderboard. That is the only way that you can truly create a fair environment. And then you can prove me wrong all day. I'd love to see it. But that's what it comes down to.
Hearthstone used to have a much bigger esports scene, and we didn't see a ton of women involved, but it used to be where you could win a qualifier. And if you happen to win the qualifier, you could get into the next tournament, and then you win that tournament, you can get into the Masters tour, the tournament, or whatever it is like that. So there were those abilities there, but you have to win there. But again, it's one of those things where there's so much adversity to even do well in those. That how do you get to that? How do you overcome everything? So
right, yeah.
How do you level the playing field? Really is the question.
Exactly. And I think that's going to be the eternal question. And I think that it's not, like I said, it's not just strategy. It's the FPS community. There's women FPS gamers that are amazing. Like, they're so good. And it's like, okay, so why aren't they invited to like those top teams? Why aren't they on Cloud9 or whatever? Like, I'm just pulling names out of my butt, but like, where's their spotlight? They have every opportunity. Those companies, those groups, those teams have every opportunity to invite those women that are playing well and give them that chance to show that they're good. But the problem is all eyes are on them when they get that opportunity. And if they blow it, you've screwed yourself. It's over. So
the pressure is 10 times more, right? It's like if it's, hey, this streamer or this personality that we know that has been working really hard and they fail, well, they'll be back there next time. If it's a woman, it's like, oh, they just suck because what were they doing there? Did they belong
why were
there
they in the first place? Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So as a streamer, though, you've built up a pretty good community, and you've worked hard at that, and people like you, and people there. How much has that having your mods and your regulars has that shifted some of this off? Did they take care of a lot of this for you? Does it change anything, or does it still like, yeah, maybe they tell the person to go away, maybe they ban them, you don't have to, but you still see it, you still are affected by it?
I might be a bad example here because I'm very much the person that says, don't ban them. I need to talk to them. I need to share my piece. Because then I feel that makes me feel good. Like, okay, you decided to come in and talk crap. I'm going to give it right back to you. And I'm going to question you. And you're probably not going to say anything because the spotlight's on you. And I like doing that. That gives me the power that makes me feel like, all right, I have control over this situation. And sure, my mods will come in, and when the people say weird stuff like, I don't know. And I'm like, this is not a dating app. You can't just like walk in and say something like that. But for the majority, if someone's going to come in and say something like extremely misogynistic, my mods know that they are not allowed to pull the trigger until I say what I have to say. And I will tell them to unban them because, somebody will come in and say, you suck at this game. You're crap. And they'll ban them, whatever. And it's like, no, they need to be here. They need to see me win this match. Because if that, then they can, screw you. Now you can be banned. But you saw me play and you know that I can actually play. So, but other than that, there are regulars that, are still, in my regulars in my community that started out as like just people passively watching during like Twitch drops or something like that. And, maybe they had different views of like women in the gaming space. And I think that through all of the things that have happened over the past few months and like me calling it out, that they have also become educated and supportive of this stance and therefore perpetuated this idea of representation throughout like their life and to other gaming communities that they're part of. So I like to think that I'm making some attempts at changing things. And throughout all of this like Conqueror stuff that had happened, I pretty much said that if I'm the person that has to take the heat for change to be made, if I'm the person that has to, get the death threats or whatever, fine. I'm fine with that. I that's, as long as there is change that is happening because of it, I feel like I've made my point. I've done what has to be done. And I'll continue to do that. I will not stay silent. And that's one thing that everybody in my community knows. I do not stay silent. I will not keep my mouth shut because I have this platform. I'm going to use it. So
why do you think we invited John to the show? So we talked a little bit about these Snap Invitationals, these conquests. How would you make it better?
It's tough. It's tough because, like I said, not everybody has the same amount of time to put into the game. And I think that, infinite ranking is really not a good indicator of how good somebody is at the game. And then, they say, okay, we can make tournaments and they can prove themselves through that. Okay, but do you really think that they're going to put on a tournament for everybody to prove like how good they are at the game? That's not going to happen. They don't care. This is fully a marketing event. It's only for marketing. They don't care how good you are at the game. The challenges that they make, it doesn't matter how good you are at the game. It's just like you're there to make them money. And if that's the case, then there's no boundary, right? Who cares? You are the ones inviting these people. You get to make the choices. You can very easily pick a person of color, a woman, a person that is, I'm like forgetting words I'm going to say, but people who are constantly underrepresented. It's very simple because those people exist in our community. So if you're not going to go based off of skill and you're just going to go based off of viewership, it's messed up. Like, I don't know why you would go based off of that metric, because there's plenty of people who are women that are killing it and carrying huge viewership, maybe not the thousands, but they're there. They have every opportunity to do those things. And I think that this past Conquerors was my biggest issue was they did half Snap streamers, half non-Snap streamers. So the non-Snap streamers, it's like, okay, they could have gone to so many women, that there's so many big women streamers that they could have gone to, or people of color. And they didn't. They just dropped the ball. It's so simple. They are making the rules. So just make the rules representative. I don't know. What's so crazy about that? I feel like it's not a big ask.
Do you think we're in a better spot than we were 10 years ago, though? And as far as representation and maybe opportunity, or do you feel like maybe we haven't gone that far?
It's tough. I'm on the brink of losing a lot of my rights, depending on who is our president. So, the timing is a little different and terrifying. But as far as the opportunity to grow and get spotlight, yeah, sure, it's better. I think 10 years ago, esports barely existed. That way it was a different time. And women in gaming, I was looking at percentages of women in gaming and growth over time, and it's almost 50-50 now, which is very interesting. But 10 years ago, it was not that. It was heavily male dominated, and it was very much just because people thought that women couldn't do it. So they say, go back to your farming sims, go back to Animal Crossing. You don't belong in the FPS space. It's always going to be that way.
So to wrap this up, in your opinion, how can people like me and Doc and just our listeners out there, how can we help make this a better space?
I think that standing up for things like this is super important, even if it puts you in the hot seat. If it's something that you feel passionate about, helping towards, you have to be willing to take the stance to support it. Because a lot of people are just, they'll be like, yeah, I'm rooting for you, but they won't say it outright. And that makes that, then what's the point? You're not helping. Because they're afraid of being called a simp. That's what it comes down to. Or a white knight. Or stop simping. She'll never pay attention to you. Because that's what it's turned into. But if that's your biggest concern, consider what we're going through and the things that we hear if we're standing up for ourselves. like, okay, like, you're not a simp. Like, everybody knows that. It's just the weirdos that feel the need to put you down. But it's like, if that's all that you're going to get, then yeah, get up there, scream it out loud. It's easy. I don't know. That's not like something that you lose your job over, asking for equality. But it's just support people, and I don't know. Anytime I see it in like esports, I try to be loud about it and supporting people who are, you know, calling out that stuff. It, you know, just retweeting and saying, yeah, here, like what she said, that doesn't help. It's like having some input and like putting support behind that woman's voice is more important than maybe like sharing your pin. Does that make sense? Like you sharing your side of the thing is more about like, I want to boost this person and like everybody should see this. It's tough.
No, it makes sense.
It's going to be hard forever. There's no easy solution, but we'll get there. Hopefully. But who knows what the future holds? I have no idea what gaming's going to look like in 10 years. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, hopefully it'll be fun, fearless, and focused, at least in Hearthstone. So, Doc, any thoughts before we move on to wrap things up here?
I mean, yes, but no. Yes, in the way that I want to help as much as I can, but no in the way that I won't be able to have as good of an insight on any of this than eggs, because unfortunately, I don't know which is the best way to put it. It's not a problem I have to deal with, which it shouldn't be a problem anyone has to deal with, but I don't feel like anything I can personally add right now other than to find the women in your space, listen to them, lift them up when you can. That's all that we can do, because anything that these women will say is going to, or should, overshadow and overboom anything that we say, because it is not what we say that matters in this situation. It is what they have to say is what matters.
That's good. I think that the biggest thing there is like, you guys is like a very loose term. Men have the space to say what they want to say and get support from other people, right? And that is something that's like a consistent thing. But I also want to say on the other side of all of this is that I'm not blind to the fact that this does exist in the male gaming space. Like, you are not immune to this, and it does happen. But the way that that version is seen is, oh, you're a I don't know how to say like, not say this bad word that I want to say. That's just how gaming is, man. Like, get used to it. Don't, just nut up and play the game. So it's like, to women, it's like, go make a sandwich. And to men, it's like, get used to it, dude. Like, that's just how gaming is. So that is also not like, that's just male masculinity, toxic masculinity being shown. And it's perpetuated in the gaming space, because if a man stands up and says something, like if you're in voice chat and you hear somebody talking to a woman, putting them down, and you stand up for them, then, like I said, you're the white knight and you're not allowed to have feelings. You can't care about this other person, or you're just trying to like get with them, so it's there's no winning. It almost seems like that, but I think it's really important to like add that in, that as much as I'm like on this soapbox right now, I think that I'm keenly aware that this is something that is happening everywhere to all genders, all races, and the only way that we can really fix it is by like banding together and supporting other people when it's happening, instead of just sitting idly by and saying, just mute them, like, whatever, he's stupid, like, just mute that person. But that's not it. Like, that person needs to be told off, and maybe they're never going to change if nobody actually stands up to them. So pick your
and
battles.
They probably won't change anyway,
yeah.
but they probably won't change anyway, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't still stand up to them. And
sure. And there could be people that are listening along that hear your point of view that are like, oh, like, you're right. That is messed up. Maybe I've said that in the past and maybe I'll change. So there's always a butterfly effect. I think that's the biggest thing to remember, that something didn't change right in this current moment, or this person didn't stop doing what they're doing, but maybe there's somebody listening somewhere in this voice chat or whatever, reading my post on Twitter, that is somehow affected by it and will make a change in their life. So
one of the coolest things for me with so I used to run a Hearthstone a Warcraft guild, and we were raiding guild and all that, and we label ourselves as 18 plus, not that we were like after dark Warcraft or anything, but it was like we were adults. We wanted to like not have the kids and, you know, be able to like say, you know, bad jokes or whatever like that, but we were very respectful. And like we had longstanding members that were women, and it was nice that when we would pug people, or we bring new people on, that like for a while we'd have women raid leaders and tanks and highly contributive members. And when they talked, it wasn't like, oh my god, a grill, you know, it was like, you know, they were just part of the team. So that way when we would get people into the group, whether they were pugs or new recruits, and these women voices were there, and they were just part of the team, and it wasn't like anything outside of the fact they were part of the team, it made a difference, because that's how we got, like, for a while there, we were like 40% women on my raid team, and I was always proud of that, not because, you know, of anything more than it was like, it didn't matter. We were representative. People could find a comfortable home here, and I thought that was important. So, I mean, I think that's kind of what we should strive for, is just like, yeah, it's important to speak up, but it's also important to, I think, just treat you as you're not a woman gamer, you're a gamer, and you do what you're good, and you need that representation because of everything else, but you're a gamer, and you should just be a gamer.
You hit the nail on the head. That's really what it comes down to. We just want to be treated like normal people. I have like severe voice chat phobia, being concerned joining a voice chat and instantly getting like, oh, grill, like, will you be my girlfriend? Can I have your number? You know? And I just want to be just another person that plays a game. And I experienced that a lot with Destiny, when we were doing like pickup groups, that I was terrified to join groups. I had to clarify with the person of the pickup group that I was joining that I was a woman, and making sure that it was okay, because I don't know, you never know, and that's messed up. I shouldn't have to do that. No one should have to do that. Just treat me like another person playing Destiny. Who cares what my voice sounds like? Like, if there are people who have suggested using a voice modulator just to give myself confidence. That's not the solution, but the fact that that is the solution that's being offered is like, that speaks volumes, I feel like.
You should be able to say, Tito, your DPS sucks, pick it up, and it not matter who you are. It's just, you're part of the team, and right. I've heard that from men and women, so it's fine. Well, Doc, that was a lot. Hopefully we all have a little room for dessert, maybe? What do you think?
Yeah, dessert sounds pretty nice. So, Eggs, one final interview question for you. What is your favorite dessert?
So, in my refined palate, I am a tiramisu enjoyer. Yes. Anytime there's tiramisu available, I have to get it. And a well-made tiramisu is like, oh my god, so good. Yeah.
You're not my favorite guest.
Hell yeah. Yes. Like cookies, whatever. Yeah, sure, whatever. But if you're going to like make me that tiramisu, yeah, that's it. And my husband knows, like, he'll go out of the way to like get tiramisu if he sees it. Even if we find out it tastes like crap, like, that effort is what matters.
Heck yeah. So listeners, please leave us a review. We prefer 5 stars because it helps with visibility, but give us an honest rating with how you feel like the show is going. Because we want the show to be the best it can be for us, but also the best it can be for you. So anything you leave us as a critique, we'll take it in stride and try to improve the show. And also we'll rate it out on the show if you leave us a review. So you'll get to hear your name and your comments. Eggs, where can people find you on social media?
I am on Twitter at Hyatt's Eggs. I'm trying really hard to get the at eggs tag. It is currently owned by the Canadian farmers, the Canadian egg farmers. And they haven't tweeted on it since 2015, and I'm really hoping that Twitter just finally decides to deactivate it and let me get the tag, but I'm trying.
Elon seems very reasonable, so I'm sure you could get that.
Sure,
Yeah.
Very reasonable. I've even tried contacting the Canadian egg farmers to see if they'll give me the tag. They didn't answer me. And then on Twitch, I'm just eggs. That's it. And I am live every weekday from 9 a.m.-ish. Like, I'm usually late until, like, late afternoon. And I'm usually playing Snap, but I've been doing more variety lately. And, enjoying it. Enjoying branching out and doing a lot of BGs, duos. And I'm trying to get Sun Glitters in there to play with me. She stopped by stream and she's like, "Are you gonna go full on BG when they do like the new season?" I was like, "If that's what you want me to do." So I don't know. Like, sure, I'll try. Sorry, this is like going back to the Hearthstone thing, but I didn't realize how high of a rating that it goes. And I'm like genuinely interested in the really high ranking people. I haven't taken time to like go hunt these people down, but I know that the rankings are on the website. And like seeing people at like 17,000 is crazy. Like that is a lot of time. But set goals.
So if Sun Glitters makes you pick an avatar to go along with her potato to do a joint stream, what would your avatar be?
Oh, I mean, obviously an egg, but if it has to be not an egg, then maybe like a pickle or something goofy like that.
I don't know why I didn't even think about egg when I said that.
I mean, it's very basic. It's very straightforward, truly. But yeah, that's it. I don't make a lot of content outside of it. I wish I had more time. There's YouTube stuff out there. There's a TikTok with some really good clips on it that I think are funny, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not funny at all. Who knows?
TikTok's weird, man, because I try to I post something, I'm like, this is going to go great, and it gets like so few views, and then I'm like, here's me telling dad jokes, and they get a lot of views, or I post my pets, and they get a lot of views. I was like, Doc, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Doc McButt, and I obviously was not here last weekend, but I usually stream Saturday and Sundays from about 7 a.m. to noon.
Can we really say usually when you've done it for about 2 weeks?
Yeah, because that's the pattern I want to establish.
You've got
I like it.
Consistency is key.
Yes, it is. And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and TikTok at Tito Santana HS. Eggs, you got anything you'd like to promote this week? Or shout outs?
When is this being posted?
It'll be posted Wednesday.
Okay. Well, tomorrow, which is Tuesday, August 20th, I am playing the co-op Cult of the Lamb with my pal Chris Melberger. That's going to be very fun, and I'm stoked about that. So that is something I'm sure he'll end up posting on YouTube, but I'm hoping to do it a couple times with him because that'll be fun. Gosh, I don't really have a lot planned coming up. I'm trying to finish beating Dark Souls, so if you want to watch me rage over that, I'm kind of good at it. I don't know. I think I have skills. I did the Twitch Rivals Elden Ring, so I don't know, man. I have something there.
Yeah.
But I will be at TwitchCon too, as well. So if you see me and say hi, I guess. I don't know. I'm very awkward if you just walk up to me, so I don't know if that'll go well. We'll see.
Doc, how about yourself?
Well, first and foremost, Eggs, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure talking with you and getting to know you and hearing your insight on women's space in gaming and hearing your journey. It's been very educational. It's been very fun. And yeah, just thank you again.
Thanks for having me. Sorry for talking your ears off.
Don't worry about it. It was great.
This is a podcast. If you don't talk, it's bad.
That's true. I guess it's just me I don't know. Somebody's going to turn it off an hour into the conversation because she's yapping too much or something. But yeah, I had fun. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving me a platform to share how I feel. And I hope that it makes some people reconsider, everyday things that they see and maybe calling them out and making that stand. Maybe if something as small as like, I don't know, somebody being rude on the street or getting catcalled. That's an interesting one to call out. So, I don't know. We'll see.
And I'm going to shout out Ron Mexico, who hopefully be on the show pretty soon. We were talking about that, but also I might be doing some co-op streams with him here or there to, hopefully learn a lot from him. And actually, I talked to Eggs a little bit. We might do some co-op Hearthstone at some point, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Let's do it.
But anyway, guys.
I love duos.
Duos is fun. And Doc, you said you might want to do some co-op duos as well. So,
yep.
So keep an eye out for all that. Too bad they don't have trios. We could do, I don't know.
That'd be so insane.
Wait, they have the way that you can like make the lobbies, right? So you could we could get like a bunch of people. That would be fun.
Absolutely. I think that would be a fun night. I think we could definitely figure something like that out. But anyway, guys, I think we're toast. We'll see you later.
Bye. Bye.
Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.